Hi, and welcome to the Killen Report. I'm Jonathan Kleid, owner of the Kleid Design Group, Fine Custom Cabinetry in Oakland, California. We've got a wonderful program for you today. It's my great pleasure once again to have the opportunity to speak with Micheal Killen, head of Killen Associates, and he has also created a national and international reputation as a fine artist who deals in very complex social issues and puts a great emotional spin on it. Micheal, welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm honored that you will interview me today. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure because we've got some exciting things to talk about. So let's delve right in. You came up with a concept using the 5 rights that Tom Steyer, the very active political personality, has come up with. And you're going to be painting large-scale paintings, is my understanding, of those rights. And for those people that don't know what those rights are, I do want to articulate them because they're fairly basic and fairly transparent.
Sure. Before we articulate them, I want to say I have not made a commitment to interpret them, but I might. And I'm taken by frameworks. You know, frameworks to me are structures that help people think, help persuade people to accept new ideas. So Tom Steyer on Meet the Press a few weeks ago announced this framework, and you know, I'm considering if funding comes along, I will help him drive his framework through the entire Democratic Party across the United States to help him attain his goals.
That's fantastic. So let's review those 5 rights for our audience and get them up to date. They're rather transparent. They don't really need a lot of explanation. They are the right to an equal vote, and the right to clean air and water, the right to learn, the right to a living wage, and the right to health. Those are the 5 of them, right? And that's so. What about those interested you to consider painting them?
Well, I relate to every one of them in some ways, and I can see if Tom can take the first right, the right for equal vote, if he can make that meaningful for a great number of people in the political infrastructure of this country, in the press, media, the internet, and the voters, he will succeed. It'll help him succeed in getting the kind of people he wants elected.
So when you think about this, bringing something from an intellectual point of view into the realm of emotion through your art, can you talk a little bit about the process?
Sure, but let me first say, I assume that what Tom Steyer and his team will do, they will attempt to appeal to everybody's logic. You know, they'll have a logic-based message, and you know, that may succeed in inculcating a good portion of the population to accept his framework in their thinking. But you know, no one can guarantee if primarily using the logic approach is going to do it for him. I can give him a second approach, an approach that allows the marketplace of ideas to see and feel deeply every one of his rights. And we do that by making paintings that are done in such a way that they put a right in the context of the marketplace of ideas. Okay, that's that's a lot about what it's about. Now, I'm willing to share the thought process of how one goes about taking one of his rights and finding a way how to articulate it. And I usually articulate things in 6-foot by 15-foot paintings, and we don't think in terms of art shows all around the place. We think in terms of making images and then releasing it to the press, releasing it to television, releasing it to radio and the internet in the form of podcasts. So we think in terms of millions of images being broadcast all over the world. Now, the thinking process of this is to take a look at each right, but always keeping all of the whole framework in mind, and really thinking about what it is, and then spending a considerable amount of time thinking about the marketplace of ideas to try to find the best way, the best context to articulate that right in a painting. And then, before I even start a painting, I try to reach into some other place like great literature or history, science, mythology, management science, computer, whatever it is. I look into some other field and I'm searching for something that I can use that will really help pull the public into the story and into his idea. And for example, let's take mitigation, the concept of mitigation. Go out and reduce a threat that's coming to you. So in another painting that I made related to the state of California, I identified Don Quixote for mitigation. And for other paintings, I have reached into mathematics and grabbed the infinity sign and made a gigantic painting called Resilience of America. And I used that infinity sign. It was a 24-foot painting, and I used the infinity sign to help tell the story and to help persuade people to think.
So let me ask you, what fundamental approach of persuasion, let's say, do you think that Mr. Steyer will bet heavily on to begin inculcating his framework?
Okay, well, he's a highly educated man, and he knows I am talking about Aristotle's 3 approaches to persuasion. And he'll do one, the appeal to people's logic, okay? And that's fine. I will appeal to people's emotions. And that's with imagery, you know, and I deliberately make my paintings so that they bring attention, they generate attention, but then people want to know more about the story, and they have to think. And as soon as they start thinking, the image starts to have a positive impact on them. And by the way, and then there's the third approach that Aristotle gave us, and that is appeal to people's need for positive association. And that is like if you are selling something to somebody, that somebody will be more receptive to your persuasion if you are associated to something bigger than them, something that they really respect. And if I wind up making these paintings to help Tom Steyer inculcate his framework across the country, I will always be looking to apply the Aristotle principle of association. And actually, I come with it already because, I made sustainability
Correct.
for NASA.
Right.
I made sustainability, the resilience of America for Stanford, and
so on.
You got the picture.
Well, so how do you foresee you and your team, Killen and Associates, helping increase his chances of attaining the goals?
Well, we would paint all 5 rights and release them roughly 1 every quarter. And the research part of making one of these paintings is very important. I go out and maybe talking to Tom and his assistants, they might identify experts out there, not that I can't identify them, and also potential partners for him. And we invite them to do shows with us. And when we do a show, we release that show on television, radio, internet, podcast, etc. And that starts the process of doing 2 things: me getting the more knowledge to determine how best to make the painting, and also spreading the information in the public about Tom Steyer. So I do research, and as I do research, I do a lot of it right in front of cameras. And then I start working on the painting, and I have learned that it is best to try to have all the false starts, all the mistakes made as soon as possible. No artist, no writer of books, no producer of plays ever starts out knowing, they may think they know where they're going, but once you get started, things change. And so I try to get rid of the mistakes, the false starts, as soon as possible. And then when the painting is finished, subject matter experts, partners, the press, political leaders, scientists, they come on this set and we discuss the painting. But really what we're doing is I'm giving them opportunities to share their insights related to the topic of the particular painting, which further gets thousands of images out there around the world.
True. Well, we've done this for years, and I
Yes.
understand your thoughts about the television and radio and internet and YouTube and podcasts and all of that. Talk about Killen & Associates' team and their credibility working on these kinds of frameworks and helping them to become accepted within.
So I'm the president of the team, and I'll just do a bit of my background. I've been involved in frameworks from almost when I was a little kid, all right? And I want to acknowledge I never went to college. In the 4th grade, I got left back in the 4th grade. But when I was in the 8th grade, the smartest kid in the class was the greatest chess player in the school. But I went out and found a book by Horowitz and Reinfeldt, I think, on principles of chess. I had never been exposed to the word principles, and it had 9 principles. I studied them. I became the best chess player in the 8th grade and the best chess player in the entire high school from those principles. And later in life, maybe 5 years after high school, those principles helped me become appointed the Director of Education of Wang Laboratories, a NASA-listed company, national sales organization. That was 5 years after high school, but it's those principles that helped me get forward. But then, a few years later, not many, Dr. Wang made me his special assistant for special projects. And he would come to me with challenges like, give me ideas no one else would think about on this topic. And I wanted to perform. And I used those principles, and I decided those principles were not good enough. So I developed my own management methodology for how to think clearly and to develop the best action in any situation. That was a framework, okay? And then later on in life, working with IBM, they released a framework for something called systems application architecture. We're dealing here with extremely complex architectures, maybe 5 different architectures, and it was a goal to develop standards across every one of the 7 layers of computing and to make all of it work together. Hardly any IBM executive could articulate that framework easily. You know, it takes paragraphs. I decided I would help IBM articulate their systems application architecture, SAA. I had to write a book about it. So that's, and then we have one other where you've taken part, and so has a lot of other people. You know, we just finished, or we will finish in 1 month, helping the state of California articulate its California Climate Change Plan. Mm-hmm. And this one we've done with television, with radio, and I have made 8 major paintings, one for each of the 8 goals of the framework, of 6 goals of the framework.
That's, yeah, no, that's great. And you had mentioned that those paintings, like the ones you would consider doing for the 5 rights, are 6 by 15 approximately, yeah. And that's a really ambitious project to do 5 of those. So what are you foreseeing with regard to funding for that?
Okay, before I answer that, I do want to say something about the team. The team I have, which has been helping, it's you. You are a talk show host who does a lot of the shows related to us. And the director of this show is Asia Dubarenka. She is a member of the team. And then I think you're going to interview in your next show 2 scientists, mm-hmm. Dr. Alex Canara, who is a world expert on nuclear energy in the oceans and a few other things. And then there's Ripu Malhotra, who is a former SRI scientist, and he's a fellow of this, a fellow of that. You know, these are just a couple of the people who are part of the team that I've been working with and been working with me for years now. And I get to call on all these folks, and they advise me and give me analysis and do other things or make shows, and yeah. So there's a great team.
So let's talk about the funding in the bit of time we have left.
This is a big project. It's a 2-year project. I would need to scale up. I would need to have money. Mm-hmm. And
by when?
I don't want to. By when?
Yeah, by when?
Well, I would say February, because sometime in February, because we will finish the California Climate Plan framework in February. February the 16th will be the showing of what some people call the Stanford painting, but I wish I could remember the title. What is the title?
What? We'll get to that in a moment.
Okay, but it's called goal number 2, mm-hmm. which is double the energy efficiency of fixed existing buildings in the state. Double mm-hmm. the energy efficiencies, savings. And I have worked now with Stanford for a few months, symbolically interpreting how they invested $500 million to support California's that particular goal.
Right.
And when I finish that, I'm going to take another project, and I think you can sense the nuclear energy folks want me to help them. And I'd like right now also, if I don't get the Steyer project, I would like the French government to ask me to interpret their climate plan. So it's probably nuclear energy or maybe the French. You know, I have something going on.
There's always something with you going on the boards, and so I don't worry about you taking on another project.
And then I'm interested in articulating social media and its threat today. And you know, people say, weird, you can't do anything like. I made the painting in 2000, the impact of the internet on civilization. You know, I have a way of figuring out how to grab onto these projects. And so I hope Steyer and his team or other folks see value in our team providing another approach to persuading the voters and the infrastructures come up with funding.
Absolutely. No, I get that. Totally get that. Where are you in the California Energy Plan series of paintings? Are you on the last one now? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And when do you? That's going to be done, or needs to be done by when?
Well, it's scheduled to be shown for the first time for about 5 days at Art Ventures Gallery in Menlo Park, and for about 5 days.
That's Katharina Bernau's gallery.
Yes.
Yes.
And for 5 days, I think, or 4 days, whatever, she will present a speaker series where experts in various areas, political leaders, etc., will come in and give their speeches in front of the painting. And I now remember the painting.
Wait not.
Waste not, want not.
There you go.
Stanford
University's energy
investment. That's it.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's great. So going back to the gallery, and that's going to be beginning February 16th is the first day of those series of days, and they're going to be different speakers.
Yes.
You'll be one of them.
Yes.
And the other two gentlemen who you mentioned,
yes,
Alex and Ripu, are going to also.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be one too.
Who knows?
But I also expect possibly Jim Sweeney, the head of the Precourt Energy Efficiency Center at Stanford, might be one, and Joe Stegner, the vice president of energy for all of Stanford. That's the man I work closely with. He'll probably be a speaker.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it's very early in booking the paintings to go out. But Stanford has already booked the painting to be shown. They're going to put it in the lobby of the Arrillaga Alumni Conference Center. And it's a 15-foot, 6-foot high. And all 400 people who come in for the Silicon Valley Energy Summit 2019 on June 21 will be greeted by that painting. And when they get their handout, everybody gets a handout, the back page will have a photo of the painting. And in terms of credibility and association, this will be the 8th year in a row Stanford has put 3 of my gigantic paintings on display at the Arrillaga Alumni Silicon Valley, and one in the lobby, one where you check in, and they always put another one somewhere else.
Right, and these are the full 6x15s.
Well, my sustainability was 24 feet, was in the lobby one year. Another year, my 24 was Resilience of America. my Water Everywhere, Not a Drop to Drink, my Gone with the Wind is the Electric Grid, my Safeguard California. So this will be the 8th year in a row
Right.
that Stanford has been kind to take advantage of my art.
No, that's terrific. And when we began the show, I had mentioned that through this and other venues, you have gained a national and international reputation for doing this kind of work and for it being so effective as another approach to get the message out. And this is very, very important social work that you're doing.
Oh yes, I love doing it. I call it message art. It really is the only art I can get excited about. I need and want important messages and complex messages. And I love these challenges,
Yeah.
and I want them to have a positive impact on whatever part of civilization they can touch.
And they do. And for that, we are grateful. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and talk about these important issues. And to all of you, I want to thank you for watching. And I'd also like to thank our crew that never gets seen, part of the Killen Report family. And as was mentioned before, our director, Asia de Barranca. And it's very, very kind of you again to come. I am Jonathan Kleid, owner of the Kleid Design Group in Oakland, California. Thank you for watching the Killen Report. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.